With that, I believe we're okay on technical, and if you'll bear with me for a few minutes, we have a few slides to go through, and then we can be opening this up for questions and feedback. Introductions. BP Trucking is a family-owned and operated waste management and recycling facility providing commercial, industrial, and residential waste removal service throughout Massachusetts since 1965. Operates the existing Hudson transfer station and has done so since approximately 1999. That detail is later on in the presentation. Gary, at least, is on the is listening in today. I believe Stephen DePello may also be here. It's being done in partnership with the town of Hudson, which is the owner of the land on which both the existing transfer station is right now and the new transfer station will be located. Best contact for that is Eric Ryder at the Director of Public Works. Steve Wright, you've heard a couple of times here. That is Sanborn Head, the solid waste engineering company, retained by BP Trucking to lead the permitting and the design effort. And I am from Epsilon Associates. My name again is AJ Jablanowski. I'm a principal and an engineer at Epsilon Associates. We're in the mill at Maynard. I have been doing environmental permitting, licensing, and helping facilities with compliance support for 25 years out of that office. All right, what is the project? And we'll get an opportunity to go through this a few different times. With the recent construction of the police department public works facility, the town and BP seek to relocate the existing transfer station much further into the 72-acre parcel. So in its heart, if you can see my cursor, this existing transfer station stops getting used. The town does have some plans for reuse of some of those structures. And then the new transfer station will be further back in that same parcel. That has some permitting associated with it. The Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act. Massachusetts is one of a handful of states that do a state environmental policy review before the official state permitting can begin. So that ends up being a soup to nuts review of possible impacts and efforts to avoid, minimize, and mitigate those impacts. The project is subject to MEPA review, and there is a filing description that we will get into based on a couple of different triggers. The new site that you saw, a slide below, the new area will cover, plus the roadway will be just a bit over 5 acres of impervious surface, so newly paved or new buildings. And then the solid waste increase in capacity of more than 50 tons per day is another MEPA trigger. The other MEPA trigger is the fact that we do need a state permit. In this case, we need 2 from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. Those are the authorization to construct and an authorization to operate a large solid waste handling facility. The solid waste permitting. The existing transfer station will be replaced by a new one in the same parcel. The net effect is to increase the solid waste disposal capacity, and this is something we can talk about in some more detail later, by 500 tons per day. And that changes from the existing permitted capacity of 350 to a proposed 850 tons per day. The entire 72-acre parcel is site assigned. And what that ends up meaning is that it's designated by the town and then officially by the state of Massachusetts as being a location for solid waste handling activities. We do need a minor modification to the site assignment. That happens, and that will be sought from the Hudson Board of Health. Tied closely to that is the Mass DEP solid waste permits I mentioned before, authorization to construct, authorization to operate. Once the new one is operating, the town and BP will terminate operation of the existing one, and the building will remain for DPW use. The permit for the existing transfer station will be retired and replaced by the permit for the new facility. So of the entire 72-acre larger site, the areas where there will be some work are in yellow here. So that is removal of the existing transfer station or, retirement of that. Construction of a new roadway to get to the back, and a new, more efficient facility in the back. Discussion of the existing transfer station. I'm not going to go through each of these steps in detail, but essentially this is how the existing facility came to be where it is and how it is. BP has operated the facility since 1999. It was originally constructed in the late 80s, originally approved to 140 tons per day. Here's a point to discuss. There are both two types of material that come through. Municipal solid waste, that is household trash. And then construction and demolition waste. Construction and demolition waste, or C&D materials. That's what's coming from a construction project. That's what's coming from a so that's going to be wood, brick, asphalt shingles, sometimes drywall, the types of materials that would be coming from essentially taking a building down. Those are handled separately, and but the facility is permitted to handle both types of materials in any combination, with a total not to exceed 350 tons per day. There's no actual processing of that C&D material here. It is just transferred, taken essentially from one set of trucks and sent out in another. Okay, here is where the existing transfer station is right now. So coming in from Cox Street, here's the current entrance, the residential recycling drop-off area, and then donated bikes, shed, office, truck scales. And so to orient yourself, this is what's going on in the front of the facility. What the limits of work now include is a roadway that will go out towards the back of the facility, back of the site. A little bit more about the project. The project will construct a 53,000-foot approximate transfer station building. So that is a significantly larger structure than what we have now. The new building and related site development will be on about 13 acres. So that's the yellow that you saw a few slides ago. Part of the entire 72 acres. So the red circle there is the 72 acres of the town-owned property. Increase in capacity, an increase in some of the material handling capabilities. And this is some of what got discussed in the morning. The ability essentially to do some better separation of the MSW, the recyclables, the C&D, the ability now and in the future to separately collect individual items, things that aren't supposed to be right in the trash stream, sorting and baling of recyclables within the facility, and then some some automation of some sorting activities that are currently happening by hand at the existing transfer station. A lot of the questions we heard this morning have to do with how this will impact the essentially the residential customers of the town of Hudson. So Hudson residents continue to allow to visit the facility, drop off MSW, drop off household recyclables in an exterior drop off area. The overall process for the design on that is in development now. And that's a theme that you'll hear some more as we go through this, is that this is something that with the development, the plans are getting worked on now, and this outreach is happening really early in the planning process in order to solicit feedback. But generally, the goal is going to be to allow some further separation between the residential area and an easier flow through the system, and where the commercial trucks would be coming through. Here's a bit more of a blow up. We might be able to take this in some more detail once we get up to the questions session. But essentially, coming from the left here, coming in, anybody who knows the parcel, there is the parcel has the existing wastewater treatment facility. So we would be a bit to the south of that. Trucks and cars would be coming together to about this point, at which point the trucks are going on the scales, and then the residential customers will be bypassing the scales and going straight to their drop-off areas, where the trucks will do more of a loop to work through to the back of the facility. One moment. There we go. Okay. Traffic routing. Now here, I'm not necessarily talking about at the facility. I'm talking about packer trucks that essentially the transfer station concept is that trash trucks that are collecting household trash are packer trucks typically. So those are the smaller trucks that actually come to people's houses, go through the residential streets, pick up the trash, would come to this facility, do come to the current facility, and would come to this newer, more modern facility. Those come in, the materials get sorted, packed more tightly, packed more efficiently, and sent out on tractor trailers, which mostly are going out to 495 in order to have a final endpoint somewhere in points west of here. Now, I'm going to show a couple of different figures that are from our current filings. Those are getting revised as the process design gets refined. So this is a busy figure here, and we will have some more in the next filings. But broadly, the red is the Cox Street site. The rest, as you'll see, is the map of Hudson and Marlborough and so forth. Blue lines, and then the blue numbers associated with the blue lines are our general estimate right now of where trucks are coming in and going out. So this is trips going through the different roadways. The blue lines would be the packers, the smaller trash pickup trucks that are coming in. And then the red lines are the tractor trailers that are getting out of the facility generally. So the truck trips, these are two-way roll-off truck trips and semi-trailer truck trips. The proposed design, and this is something that is we're actively working on, it will be to attempt to control, really trying to control how traffic is moving through town, with one of the goals based on things that we've heard and based on, the DePalos and others' understanding of the town, trying to keep the truck traffic out from being right through that downtown area. How much control is a topic of discussion, but generally the tractor trailers that are leaving are generally under BP's control and will be following a prescribed route. Where is the project on schedule? That was a question from a lot of folks. There have been discussions at the town level that others on the call may be able to provide more detail about than I can. I am more involved again in the environmental permitting side. So that does begin with that MIPA soup to nuts environmental review process. That started in May of last year. The first really substantive filing is this environmental notification form. And that is available now, but that got filed in August of 2022. We had an in-person meeting at the police station and an online public session, which was pretty similar in structure to this one, on August 22nd of 2022. And then what MIPA has done at that point is the first filing is that ENF, and it really does start with a form. It's a notification form. It sort of describes overall what the project size is and what the project is proposed to do. From that first review process, we have an ENF certificate from the MIPA office, and that is essentially our to-do list as far as what should get analyzed further as part of a formal environmental impact report. We're doing those analyses now, and we're preparing that analysis as part of an environmental impact report. That's what we have capitalized here. That is happening now. And one of the things we're doing in part as part of this outreach is requesting feedback from the community, requesting input from the community regarding what questions you have, what concerns you have, and what pieces of information you would like to know, focusing predominantly on environmental and focusing predominantly on what's going on with the new impacts. Although when we open this up, we will be happy to answer what questions we can, even outside of the environmental realm. That environmental impact report, we are targeting approximately the end of the summer for filing of that report, although we are looking to see if we can get done a little bit earlier than that. But at this point, I do believe I have the email addresses of pretty much everybody who requested attendance at this meeting. If you haven't gotten me an email address, you certainly can. We'll have contact information here. Anybody who's done that can get and will get a notification when that EIR is filed and how to get a copy of that. That is the next step in this permitting process. When the MIPA process is complete, that allows us to start the Mass DEP solid waste actual get a permitting process. That's expected to extend through 2024, with construction expecting to begin in 2025 and finish up over the course of 2025. More information is available. The ENF form I was discussing, easiest way to get that will be to email Corinne in my office and request a copy. She can send a download link. We did here today, we did post the ENF. A copy of it is in the public library. We know that, we checked that today. We also put one in town hall. I don't know if it is still there. The ENF certificate, essentially that guidebook and set of instructions that we have and that we're following as far as what we should be writing in our environmental impact report, can be found by going to the MIPA, Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act website and searching up our project number, which is 16586. One moment. This is my email address. There is not a formal comment period that is going on right now. That being said, if you have questions, concerns, and you want to put them into writing, that is the best way to get them to us. And we will do our best to get those addressed, especially if they are environmental impact related questions associated with the new project. Get those addressed in that environmental impact report that we're writing right now. So that is part of the reason for the time behind this outreach now. When that environmental impact report gets filed, that will start a formal comment period where you can send comments directly to the MEPA office regarding your input on that larger document. And then there will be formal comment periods again in 2024 associated with the Mass DEP solid waste permitting process. So here is the contact information for some of the folks on the call today. I'm AJ. There's the general phone number. There's my email address. You heard Steve a couple of times. There's his contact information. Gary at BP Trucking is also on. And that is the formal portion of the presentation.